What is up, everybody? Chris Hendrickson here, coming to you with another episode of Hendrickson News. If you haven't watched part one of this video already, it's going to be, actually, I don't know how to do the little, like, in the corner thing, so go check it out. Part one, going vegan as a family, or like how to get your family to go vegan. I already went through the first 5 tips on this wonderful article that the vegan woman put up. This one's posted in Vegan Family, and it's how to get your family to go vegan, or how to go vegan as a family. I'm going to elaborate this as how to get your family to go vegan. So I already did 1 through 5. So I'm going to do the next one. All right. So moving right into this, number 6, take note of changes. All right. While you're talking about the kids' health, it can be really useful to take note of any changes. Perhaps some people notice negative changes, and if you happen to go and see a registered dietitian, and if this happens, go see a registered dietitian pronto. But more than likely, you'll notice positive changes in your child's health or behavior, your family's health. Like for me, when I first went vegan, I lost like a bunch of weight. And I thought that was really weird because I didn't do anything differently other than change my diet. And I lost like maybe 10 pounds. I forget what it was because it was so long ago. But I started to notice I had like more energy. I had to eat a lot more. Don't get me wrong. Like when you go vegan, I felt like I was always hungry. But I ate more food. I learned what foods my body was craving and what I was, trying to substitute. And I did some research. I looked at what nutrients I was getting in meat or dairy or cheese or eggs, and then I found vegan foods, like plant-based foods, that were really high in those levels. So I was able to give my body exactly what it needed to be healthy and put that research in. As I mentioned in the last video, become a mini expert in nutrition. Like, you need to be smart if you're going to go vegan about what your body needs and what nutrients you need, so that you don't become not become a failure, but so that you don't fail at trying to live in line with your values. When I went vegan, it was totally about the health. It was totally the health reason. I would research, medical studies, like Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine was a big influence. So shout out to PCRM for all your great work, putting out the health nutrition info about vegan diets or plant-based eating. So I really appreciate it. Like, I wouldn't be vegan without you. So thank you. We got to do that research. We have to be smart because we're going to get so much resistance. Where do you get your protein? You need dairy milk for calcium. Like, you absolutely don't. There's so many great foods. So take note of your body as you're changing vegan, as you go vegan, and take note of your family. If your mom mentions something, if your dad mentions something like, hey, I noticed this, take it seriously. Help them research, figure out what's going on, especially if they're trying out veganism because, they respect and love you. We got to continue to support our loved ones as they make these choices that are more compassionate towards animals, that are better for their health and better for the environment. All right, so let me continue on to the next one. Explain veganism in a way that all family members will understand. All right. This is a really important one, and this one takes a lot of knowledge of your family and what they're interested in. Like, I know for my father, he, I think, would be much more interested in the environmental arguments about it, because he considers himself to be, environmentally friendly. He cares about the environment. So I would start from the environmental angle. I talk about how animal products, like especially factory farm meat, like beef, just produce so many more greenhouse gases than plant-based products. They pollute a lot more. I mean, there's something to be said. Don't get me wrong. Like, there is pollution that goes on with plant-based agriculture, spraying of pesticides, using fertilizers, like fertilizers produced from, I don't know if this is true, but anyways, so I'm not going to go into that. Fertilizers runoff into fields, and also like fertilizer runoff into streams and lakes, which produce way too high of concentrations of certain chemicals, or I guess it would be like nutrient is to chemical, in human. But anyways, so there are a lot of issues, especially like with animal agriculture, like manure runoff, polluting. Like I said in my Big Island Dairy video, like they were violating the Clean Water Act. Well, I don't know if they were violating Clean Water Act. I haven't seen the actual final decision on that, so I can't say anything about it because I don't want to get sued. All I can report is what the data is already out there. But explain veganism in a way that all your family members will understand. All right. For my mother, really compassionate person, just really caring. So I would come at it from like the animal compassion side. I would talk about like how would you feel, if you gave birth to me and then I was taken away right away, like hours or a day after I was born, and you never got to see me again. Because that's what happens in the dairy industry. These mother cows give birth, and if their child is born male, then they're shipped off for the veal industry. 99% of the time. Yes, I know people are going to say, like, oh, but I know this family farm that keeps the males around. Like, well, that's not the normal case for a lot of factory farming or farming in general. So I would try to relate it to her as best as possible, and know that you're going to get some resistance into this, like, oh, well, animals don't experience life the same way that humans do, especially if they've never been around a cow. These myths can be really powerful and really believable. So there's another tip coming up, so keep watching for the next tip to help alleviate that. But yeah, and if you have a family member who cares about health, talk about all the health benefits. Talk about the benefits for your heart. The actual reduction in plaque, the reduction in heart rate that occurs when you can go vegan, the reduced risk of heart disease or cardiovascular disease, the reduced risk of type 2 diabetes, reduced risk of cancer. There's just so many benefits of plant-based eating in general for people, and these can be really compelling to people. So use a different approach for different people is ultimately what I'm getting at here. And it says right here, the most important aspect of this is to really explain why you're making all these changes as a family. All right. So if I were to explain, I'd be like, mom, dad, Kate, my sister, I would be like, I don't think that I want to support an industry that is so cruel. I don't want to support an industry that locks animals in tiny little cages, so small that they can barely spread their wings. I don't want to support an industry that pollutes the environment for, my potential future children who are going to have to deal with these problems. I don't want to support an industry that makes people sick. I would explain it like that, never put it into terms like they're causing animal abuse or they are causing pollution. You never want to say that they are guilty of anything for their choices. It's just not a compelling argument. Like for some people, maybe in debate club, it would work, but definitely not an emotional family situation. It never works. It just never works. This was a big mistake I made when I was going vegan, is that I would say like, you're causing animal cruelty by supporting these industries, rather than the alternative, the better way to do it. And I will say better because I do know this is better. This is, I've had so much better experience going about it this way, saying, I don't want to support an industry that takes, babies away from mothers, in the dairy industry. I don't want to support an industry that grows chickens to be 5 times as large as they are in the wild, that they have horrible leg deformities, that they have heart failure, organ failure as a result of this excess weight. I don't want to support an industry that locks a mother pig in a cage for her entire life facing one direction. And just make it like, explain why you are choosing to go vegan, and that'll really help them understand, especially if they respect, care, and love you. They're going to value your opinions. They're going to have questions, so be patient and talk to them about it. But yeah, so explaining why is an extremely important thing. And, right here, I didn't even read this part yet, but it says, it is important, however, to teach them about what happens in the meat and dairy industry. So another point is, I'm not for a minute suggesting that you sit your kids down on movie night and stick Earthlings on while they munch the Butterfree popcorn. All right, don't just like show them without preparing them animal cruelty footage. Be very kind and sympathetic if you are going to show any animal cruelty footage to your family in a formal setting. It's going to make you look like really weird to just put this on in front of everyone. I mean, it might work for someone, but like, I can't imagine that if I, without wanting to or without knowing, was put in a room and then had to watch, child abuse or something to talk about the dangers of child abuse. Like, I would be appalled. I'd be kind of like upset at the person who showed it to me. Granted, child abuse is terrible. I'm not endorsing child abuse at all. I'm not endorsing animal cruelty at all. But it's a presentation method. It's how you present this information is really important. Getting this to go, and there's a ton of material out there, ton of psychology articles about this exactly. So moving on to the next ones, I'm going to go through this one a little bit quicker. But join a vegan family meetup group. So or just join a vegan meetup group. Like in basically every city that I've ever lived in, if there isn't a vegan meetup group, you definitely start one. So more or less every city I've ever been in had some sort of vegan support group, vegan Facebook group, vegan meetup group. And if there isn't one, create one. I used to live in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And when I went vegan, I looked all around. I looked for vegan meetups. I looked for vegan restaurants. I didn't find any. All right. And I got frustrated. I was like, I cannot be the only one out here. This cannot be the case. So I started an organization called Vegan Kalamazoo. Before that, it was not. I co-started. I started with a wonderful person named Hillary Reddick. She really helped me out, and I say I started because I started on my own the Vegan Society of Kalamazoo, and then met up with Hillary Reddick and co-branded it as Vegan Kalamazoo. So shout out to Hillary Reddick. She was a wonderful positive influence on me. Taught me so much about animal activism and animal protection and how to advocate for veganism. So Hillary, if you're watching this, thank you so much for all your support on this. It really meant a lot to me. So you can join these groups or start your own. I know it can be daunting, but even if you just post a Facebook event or create a Facebook group called, vegan, whatever city you live in, or plant-based eating, whatever city you live in, it's a great way to serve as a lighthouse, for ships, vegan ships floating through the sea. If they're floating aimlessly through the sea, like I was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, I built that lighthouse of Vegan Kalamazoo, and people then got attracted to it. They started coming there, and it's grown tremendously over the last 4 years or so. So I've been incredibly thankful for Hillary Reddick to run that group. So thank you so much for helping out on that. And with one last note on the vegan meetup group is you can bring your family members to those meetups so you can introduce them to other people. You can start to normalize, show that it's not just you and your weird ideas about, protecting animals, but like other people care about this. And it's not weird. These are normal people. These are doctors, engineers, teachers, police officers, firemen, firewomen. There's like truck drivers, they're restaurant owners, business owners, entrepreneurs, investors, there are vegans all across the board. So the more that you normalize veganism to them by taking them to meetup groups and taking them out to vegan restaurants, the more they can really see that this is, the future, that this is a real legitimate concern that we should be taking on. And to continue to do that, take them to an animal sanctuary. I got into animal activism without ever having gone to a sanctuary. For me, it was like, as I said, the health-based arguments, but also the philosophical arguments. Like, if I would never assault a human, why would I assault an animal? If I would never kill a human, why would I kill an animal? So it was the philosophy and the logic of it really appealed to me. And then the health-based arguments really solidified it, because I wanted to make sure that what I was doing was safe for my body, that what I was doing was going to keep me healthy, because that's really important, So taking them to an animal sanctuary can really help them meet farm animals. You can meet a chicken, you can meet a pig, you can meet a cow. I really, appreciate my wife for taking me to my first farm sanctuary back when we weren't even dating at the time. We were just really good friends. We went to a farm sanctuary together. I got to meet a chicken for the first time, so shout out Clyde at Woodstock Farm Sanctuary. I got to meet pigs. I got to meet, sheep, goats, etc., like cows. I just never met them. And I never had that personal connection like I did with my, dogs growing up, Bear and Bailey. But if you can take them to an animal sanctuary, it can really help make that personal connection. Or just take them to, a rescue shelter and let them play with some rescue dogs and animals and talk about the animal abuse that occurs with dogs. You know, a lot of the dogs that are in rescue centers come from really horrendous situations. So if you can talk about the cruelty and have them have that normal visceral negative reaction to hearing about animal abuse, you can be like, you know, if we feel this way about a dog or a cat, you know, why not a pig, a chicken, or a cow? You know, it's like, how do we decide who's, you know, food and who we take and live in our home with us? You know, and they can realize that it's quite arbitrary how we decide those things. So taking them to an animal shelter or an animal sanctuary is a very, very wonderful thing you can do to help your family go vegan. And last but not least, if you've made it through this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope that these tips and tricks were helpful. Let me know in the comments what you thought was helpful. Let me hear your stories about, you know, your family going vegan, etc. But chill out. Like, just relax. All right, you're doing something great. It's going to be patient through the process. Don't be like me. Don't be a jerk right off the bat. Don't tell them that they're supporting animal cruelty. Don't boycott Thanksgiving. You know, if you choose to do so, that's your own prerogative. I will no longer be boycotting events where there are meat dishes. And I did those things because I didn't really know how to express myself. I didn't know how to be patient with my family and really, you know, keep it on focus. Keep it about the animals. I was making it about me. You know, I was making it about my beliefs and my choices, you know, rather than helping them understand why I'm doing what I was doing. So, between all the concerns of transitioning into a lifestyle, it can be quite easy to lose track of why you're doing this and what a cruelty-free lifestyle means to you. Remind yourself every now and then of the reasons you chose to go vegan and why you decided to be, and then why you decided to be honest with your family and children. Know that you're not the first to go vegan as a family or as an individual in your family, and that there are many out there who will be more than happy to share their experience and advice with you via Facebook groups, forums, websites, blogs, personal interactions, etc. You know, just relax. Like, animal cruelty is happening every day around us. And yes, it can be very frustrating or upsetting to have these things go on in society and to feel kind of hopeless and helpless to do nothing about it. And when our family is doing it, it hurts really, really deeply. You know, I can't really describe it with words, but it just hurts to see your family not understanding something that you care so much about. But just, you know, be patient with them. Take it one step at a time. Don't dump all your information right on them right off the bat, because you're going to overwhelm them. They're not going to know what to do. And then if you don't teach them how to do it, they're going to have all this information and not know anything to do about it, and just throw their hands up and keep doing what they were doing and probably be resistant to it the next time that you bring it back up. So just be patient, chill out, relax. Don't be all doom and gloom. My good friend had a recent Twitter post about this, and he, you know, mentioned don't be all doom and gloom all the time, because no one wants to be around those people. If someone, like, there's actually an SNL skit. I don't know what it was called. Maybe like Bad News Betty or something. I forget what it was. Like Debbie Downer. That's what it was. Debbie Downer. And basically they're out at like a meal. They're all having fun. I think it was at like Disneyland or something. They're having a meal, and then she's talking about like how many people die on roller coaster rides and how many people get sick from food poisoning after eating at theme parks. Not saying that Disneyland is, you know, you're going to die there, or you're going to get food poisoning. You know, I'm not saying that at all. So, you know, don't worry about that. But just don't be a Debbie Downer. Like, no offense to anyone named Debbie. I'm just highlighting the character in the SNL skit. But don't be doom and gloom all the time. Like, there's a lot of cruelty going on in the world. Our family is normally a safe haven for where we can be ourselves, we can be authentic, we can just chill out, you know? So be sure to take that into consideration as your family is interested in veganism, or as you're explaining veganism, or as you're going vegan as a family. Like, I've heard a ton of stories about people who, you know, when they go vegan, their mother or father is like, you know what, I'm going to go vegan too. You know, my good friend just recently told me about how they went vegan together. You know, they were able to support each other, her and her mom. And it was like really encouraging, because I kind of wish I had that. You know, I wish I didn't have to go through this alone and have to, you know, start up a big Facebook groups and have to like try to bring people in and build a community, because it's a lot of work. You know, our family is our community. They're our support network. They're our loved ones. And if they decide to be open enough and love you and be caring enough to do this with you, That's something really special, and I hope that you understand that. And last but not least, be aware that slip ups are going to happen. Don't freak out. If you buy a, bag of chips and they have milk in them and you're munching on them, don't stress. You spent your whole life eating dairy chips. Like, don't freak out that you had a bag just now. You don't reset. It's not like you like reset the clock on going vegan. Like, if you've done it for 3 weeks, you go back to zero. It's not a competition. You know, there is no perfect vegan on this planet. There just isn't, because we all walk around, we all accidentally step on insects. We try not to. We all drive a car where we hit insects and inadvertently. We buy iPhones, we buy electronics that are that contain chemical, not chemicals, but metals that are mined up, which damages insects. We buy produce that uses insecticides that kill insects, that inadvertently hurt animals. So, like, understand that there is no perfect veganism. All right. And if we are going to be, relatable, and if we as a movement are going to be understood, we can't beat ourselves up. We can't beat each other up about, slipping up. If someone says something that, wasn't vegan friendly, if they say, like, kill two birds with one stone, don't put them on blast. Like, understand slip ups are going to happen, and just be compassionate towards people. So even adults who have been vegan for their decades can make mistakes. And this happened to me. I was a few years ago. I bought a bag of chips. Exactly. I was eating them with some guacamole, and I'm like, wow, these chips are really good. Like, I haven't had something that tastes like this in a while. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of vegan chips that are excellent and delicious, but I noticed that these were a different kind of good. This was a taste that I hadn't really had before, or I hadn't really had in a while, let me say. So I'm eating them up, and I'm like, gosh, like, these are really good, and these taste familiar. Like, what is in these? And I look on the back, and it's like, contains whey protein. They were these they were these like lime chips, and they had like the whey protein to get the lime flavoring to stick on there more install. And I was like, well, whatever. And admittedly, I had another chip, and then put them away. I let my friend have the rest of them. But understand, slip ups happen, and it's not the end of the world. Most of my life, I was not vegan, and it happens. Just chill out, be calm, be respectful, loving, kind. Share that same compassion that you have for animals with your family, So I hope this was helpful. I hope you watched it. I hope you made it through. Be sure to like this video if you're watching it on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe if you're watching it on YouTube. Head over to my Twitter. It's at Hendrickson News. Give me a follow. I'm posting all the time, trying to do 2 or 3 of these videos every day. And if you have any cool ideas, or if you have any stories to share in the comments, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. So anyways, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and stay tuned for more awesome episodes of Hendrickson Media and Hendrickson News. See ya.